What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode 130 of the Beyond the Junkyard podcast. I am Junkyard James. With me, back from his vacation that he had last week. He went to go see Creed again. He has a history of going to see Creed on the 24th of July for 2 years in a row now. So, Mr. Cody Marinara, how are you doing? How was the Creed show? How is life going for you, my friend?
I picked a hell of a week to miss, huh?
Oh yeah.
You know, I've come to realize, and I apologize, I'm still sharing the stream to places on Facebook and Twitter and all that good stuff. So I'm still kind of doing that real quick because I lack in doing that before the show because that's what real people, do. But here we are. Yeah, I. I'll get the good stuff out of the way. It was a very good concert, probably the best Creed show I've ever seen. And I know some people are going to laugh at me for that, and that's okay. That's all right. Everybody likes what they like. For me, it's Creed. I felt the need for Creed, and they delivered last Thursday evening. That was a great show. Like I said, it was probably the best Creed show that I have seen. But I'll tell you what. July 24th is not a great day the last couple of years because last year, you, me, and my wife went to go see Creed in Charlotte. My brother, who got me into Creed, didn't get to go to the show last year, and his dog died the day of the concert. So 1 year later, he joined us for the concert last Thursday night in Charleston. And, some very unfortunate things happened last Thursday, July the 24th. So July 24th is not a great day for whatever reason. Seeing Creed on July 24th the last couple of years, it's not been good. So we just gotta, get past that. But vacation was very good. It was well needed. And again, I picked the worst week to take off. I did not get a chance to see the show last week. But I can only imagine what it was like. Losing two absolute legends, and we'll get into that here in just a minute. But besides that, sir, we have to switch gears just a tiny bit. Got to do some positivity.
Yeah.
Power positivity, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it's somebody's birthday today.
Yeah, it is. It's Max Caster's birthday today.
It is Platinum Max Caster's birthday. Happy birthday, Platinum Max Caster. The best wrestler alive, right? I don't think anybody has survived the best 5 minutes for the best wrestler alive. But hey, you know what? That's okay. He's one of these days he's gonna come out on top. I got a feeling. No, but yes, happy birthday, Max Caster. But the co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, the actual host of our podcast, it is your birthday today, sir. Happy birthday to you and your twin brother that runs that other podcast on a different day. But happy birthday to you, sir. How are you doing, and how has your birthday been today?
It's been a pretty good day. I took the week off of work like I always do because I don't like working on my birthday week. So I've just kind of been chilling around. Me and the family went out and had dinner. I had a been a good day. So this show might go off the rails a little bit. I'm just going to be honest with you. Uh,
That's what we like to hear. That's what we like to hear.
but yeah, before we jump into some of the content, I gotta thank everybody that watching, tuning in live. If you could do 4 things for me, like that video, comment below in the chat, join the chat. If you're watching after the live stream, obviously you can continue to comment and we'll get those. Share this video, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We're still on the path to try and get 100 subscribers by the end of the year. If you're listening to this afterwards on the audio version, leave a 5-star review and let us know what you like about the show. Comment if you listen on Spotify. I believe you have the option to go ahead and leave comments on episodes. Comment what you want us to talk about. Comment some things you want us to change. We're here to try and please our audience here. Yeah, I'll ask of that. I gotta thank the sponsor Dubby for the powering this podcast. If you go to dubby.gg and use the code Beyond the Yard at checkout, you can get 10% off your order. Help support the podcast, help them grow, and let said, my friend, you missed an episode last week, and you had told me in advance that you were going to be out of town, so I was probably going to run solo. And so I had plans for an entire episode already planned out. And then we get the news Thursday. I heard about it Thursday right before I went to lunch at work that Hulk Hogan died, and it changed everything. I changed the entire episode just to memorialize Hulk Hogan. And unfortunately, you couldn't be there to memorialize Hulk Hogan. And so I'm going to give you a couple minutes to just share your thoughts about the legacy, the controversy, whatever you want to talk about with Hulk Hogan. And before we move into a new segment that we're going to introduce. So go ahead, floor is yours. Your thoughts about the passing of Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, man, it's that took me by absolute surprise. We were, like I said, last week we were down at Myrtle Beach all weekend, and we had gotten down to Myrtle Beach Wednesday night, and then Thursday, before we went to Charleston to go to the show, we stopped at a couple stores just to get some stuff and just kind of hang out. We brought our 10-year-old daughter with us to Myrtle Beach, but she stayed behind for the concert. But so we ran out to a couple different places and just kind of hung out for a little while. And my wife was one who broke the news to me. It was crazy how that works. But we have a group chat between her, me, and her mother. And her mom sent her a message. She was like, "Hey, is Cody okay?" And she was like, "Why?" And then either her mom said it or she looked up something or something happened, and she saw that Hulk Hogan had passed, and she saw the news of that, and she put her phone down and she put her hand to her face, and she was like, "Oh no!" She's like, "It happened. He was the third celebrity." And I went, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "I don't want to tell you." I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about. Just tell me." I basically forced it out of her. I probably shouldn't have, but that's when she said Hulk Hogan died. And I was actively driving back to my brother's house, and she said that, and I had goosebumps. And, my mouth dropped. I was like, no way. No, you're lying. So it took me by surprise. It really did. I don't want to go on an hour tangent on Hulk Hogan, but when people say that they grew up with him in his childhood, I think that's true. And Hulk Hogan, two different kinds of generations grew up with him in their childhood, right? The '80s kids grew up with him, winning the WWF title on January 24th, 1984, Madison Square Garden, beat the Sheik. Hulkamania was born. Um, Red and yellow, crazy. Hulk basically, lit the territory of New York on fire and lit the world on fire. Calling it to WWE to go global. Um, they got MTV, they got Mr. T, they got WrestleMania. I mean, just everything after that just cascaded down to a bunch of success for Vince, for the WWF, for Hogan, um, and the rest is history for that. But the people, the kids in the '80s grew up with that, with the train, say your prayers, take your vitamins, stay in school, listen to your parents, all that stuff. Um, but then you switch over to the '90s kids that grew up with Hogan, either in '94 when he came to WCW, won the world title from Ric Flair at Bash at the Beach '94, set a new attendance record, I believe, for the WCW under the new ownership with Ted Turner. Really kickstarted WCW to be a legit promotion after Eric Bischoff, was able to get him to sign on and do all that good stuff. And they had their contract signing at Disney MGM. And then the heel turn of the century, heel turn of pro wrestling happened, Bash at the Beach '96, just 2 years later. And Hogan turned heel, joined the NWO. And that's where I kind of really start my remembrance of Hulk Hogan from when I grew up, because my favorite of all time is Sting. I grew up during the Monday Night Wars and vividly remember that was the feud that got me hooked into wrestling, that got me into Sting as a character, was Sting versus the NWO, or Sting versus Hogan. Just remember that the black and white of Hogan, how much he was a heel, how much I hated him, stuff like that. And then kind of lulled in my memory with wrestling from like '99 to 2001 as a kid. Obviously, going back and watching a bunch of it, I remember it. But Hogan came back in '03 or '02, had that absolutely amazing match with him and Rock, probably, if not the greatest match of WrestleMania history, at least top 2 or 3. And that to me, it signifies how much of a legend Hogan was. He was the heel in that match. This dude basically killed The Rock. Like, he put him in an ambulance, drove an 18-wheeler through the ambulance, and made it look like he killed The Rock. So, ultimate heel. But in Toronto, at the Skydome, against The Rock, WrestleMania 18, Hogan was like the babyface. Yep. Because the fans just loved Hogan. They cheered for him in that match. And I was just, I suggest, if you really want to know the nostalgia of Hulk Hogan, The Rock, and how the crowd can just turn on a dime, watch that match, because it's just crazy how the fans turn on him like that. But then shortly after, went back to the red and yellow, won the WWE title. It's actually kind of cool. I saw this fact that Hogan was the last WWF champion and the first WWE champion. So when the WWE had that name change in '02, Hogan was the undisputed champion. And the last sign-off for the WWF, Hogan was the champion. And then the very next week, when it signed on as the WWE, he was obviously the champion. So that was pretty cool. And then, had his, little bit of his last feuds with Orton, Shawn Michaels in 2005. Both of those matches are at SummerSlam. Had a couple appearances on Saturday Night's Main Event, a couple appearances here and there. Remember, he brought his daughter Brooke to a Saturday Night's Main Event. Orton flirted with her, and they showed her music video with Paul Wall on Saturday Night's Main Event on NBC in front of a nationwide audience. That was pretty cool. But then you get into, I watched a lot of Hogan with Hogan Knows Best. And to me, I felt like I was connected to the guy, Terry Bollea, not Hulk Hogan, because of the show. And I watched it religiously all 4 seasons, and have all three of the 4 seasons on DVD still, and I'll watch it from time to time. And so you kind of felt like you knew Hulk Hogan from a personal level. And of course, things happened with Nick in '07 after the show ended, and the divorce with Linda, and it just got real messy there for the last few years for Hogan. And had the comment with racist comment, obviously, and made a very bad mistake. And of course, he's a national figure, so that stuff's going to get exposed and make it, just seem like he's the devil. Then he went to TNA for a few years, and whether you liked it or didn't like it, whether he did good or did bad in TNA, it gave us yet another kind of cool moments seeing Hogan try to revitalize another organization. And we got, I believe it was Hogan's last match, if not his second to last match, against Sting, Bound for Glory 2011. So it kind of culminated that whole feud. And then the last, 10 years or so, just sporadic appearances and this and that. And NWO got put in the Hall of Fame. Hogan, obviously, in the Hall of Fame in 2005. But pretty crazy the last time we saw him on television. He got booed out of the building. It's crazy how somebody's political affiliations will steer their entire mind, and I think that's just stupid and ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, this guy, he should be on everybody's Mount Rushmore. He probably is the Mount Rushmore. If it wasn't for Hogan, we probably wouldn't be talking about wrestling the way we would today. I still think wrestling would be around without Hogan's contributions, but without him, we wouldn't have WrestleManias be as successful as they've been. WWE wouldn't be as successful as it would have been. Other territories and organizations wouldn't have started because of what Hogan's foundation was laid, by him.
Right.
Yeah, ultimate legend. For those that are just they hate spewing on social media because of a comment he made 15 years ago, and the outpouring of love and support from wrestlers of all races, creed, religions, backgrounds since his passing goes to show that Hogan was, people make mistakes, and what one person does isn't as much of a sin as another, except for maybe Adolf Hitler. But everybody makes mistakes. People mess up. Part of life is giving people second chances, and maybe Hogan's had more than second chances, I guess. But you know what? We're imperfect. We're human. Things happen. And if you don't respect the man, Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan, at least you respect his family. I've lost a parent. It's the worst feeling in the world. So I can only imagine what Brooke and Nick are going through. I know that he and Brooke were not on good terms for a while, but I'm sure she's really hurting more so than maybe some of the others because of the fact that she had such a bad relationship with Hulk over the last few years, and she's never going to get that chance in person to say goodbye, to reconnect, to rekindle whatever was there. Whoever's at fault is not my business, but it still sucks that she's not going to have that chance. So thoughts and prayers go out to them, the family, the friends, the industry as a whole. Lost a legend. I literally got this shirt. It says Hulk, lives forever. He will. Hulkamania will definitely live forever in the hearts and minds of wrestling fans and everybody around the world. Ultimate icon. Sucks that 2 days before we lost Ozzy, and that was a heartbreaker too, and an icon in his own right. And, it was a really sad week last week for sure. Definitely kind of miss Hulk, and we'll never forget his contributions to the wrestling business. Dio from the Cosby Show died, about a week and a half or 2 weeks before Ozzy or before Hulk did, and I guess the saying is true that Hulk was the third man.
Always was the third man.
Always had to be the third man. And, even in morbid dark humor, you have to kind of look at it that way too. But sad week for wrestling, for the world, losing a couple icons and legends. And I know that some people have really critiqued the way some companies have done their tributes. I think WWE could have done a full 2-hour show if they really wanted to as a Hogan tribute. They didn't. I'm not upset by it. They did a 10-bell tribute on all 3 of their shows this past week. That's awesome.
Right. And
great video package.
Mm-hmm. I'll say I'm sure we'll probably get something from him this weekend on SummerSlam weekend too. So
I would think Hogan was a big part of WrestleMania and SummerSlam and Survivor Series. So it'd be cool if they had a pretty cool tribute to him as well. AEW, I think, did the right thing. Their show was on a Wednesday, he died on a Thursday, so they didn't have a show until Saturday, and they don't own any of the video, any of the pictures. A simple R.I.P. Hulk Hogan, I think, would have just not done it right. So I'm glad that they waited till Saturday and the right person gave that announcement with Shivani. So I was that was cool for them to do that, and for Shivani to be the one to do that. But yeah, everybody critiques about everything these days, and it's just a cesspool on social media. But it was cool to see a bunch of the wrestlers and media personalities and people from all forms of entertainment come out and give their love and support. And we'll miss the Hulkster, and like I said, his legacy will always live on. And
absolutely,
yeah, it's a crazy week, crazy week.
Absolutely. Well, if you live in the state of Florida, tomorrow was signed a Hulk Hogan Day in the state of Florida, signed by Governor Ron DeSantis. All the flags will be at half-mast in remembrance of Hulk Hogan. So that's kind of cool that they did that. I think you made a good point about the 80s and 90s kids growing up with Hulk, and then you see this new generation of people that really didn't grow up with him. It's usually the younger audience that doesn't have that like remembrance of like growing up with this guy like that was legit an on-screen superhero and at times. So I think that distinction between those that grew up watching them and those that really don't have that connection kind of show where their feelings are towards Hulk or Terry or whatever. But absolutely, you're absolutely correct. Even if you don't like the man, the character Hulk Hogan, and I said this last week, gave us AEW, because if you really think about it, WWE was struggling, and Hulk Hogan was really one of their last ditch efforts to try and go mainstream. Vince Jr. was really pushing this takeover of the territories and going mainstream, and if Hulk Hogan would have failed, WWE probably wouldn't exist past that period of time. So, I mean, it was a really big risk that ultimately paid off and really exploded pro wrestling to another dimension. But we're going to move on to a new segment that we're calling This or That. The basis is I put together a couple slides here of wrestlers that you just got to choose which one would you prefer, and I'll play in as well. Which one would you prefer over the other? So is it this or is it that? And with that being said, let's put this up. And the first one, Sami Zayn or Joe Hendry. Which one would you pick?
Sami Zayn. The song is cool and all, but Sami has just as cool of a theme song and people sing along to it, and Sami can be a good promo guy and a great entertainer in the ring, believable with his in-ring style. So I think Sami is a more overall well-rounded entertainer and wrestler than Joe Hendry, in my opinion.
So I will say this. I'm not a big fan of Sami Zayn's current gimmick where he's basically just like a male Karen and complains about everything. I love Sami Zayn's NXT persona, and if he could go back to kind of that gimmick, that persona, I would love Sami Zayn a little bit more. He just cries too much in character for me to like him any. But I think I would pick Sami Zayn in this case. Joe Hendry is, I like him, but he's just, to me, he's not a guy that I could build a company around, which is obviously why TNA felt it necessary to take the belt off of him and put an NXT wrestler there. So I'll pick Sami Zayn in this instance as well. I think there's 7 of these, by the way. So, number 2, we're going old school Divas era or knockouts era, early knockouts. Taryn Terrell or Trish Stratus.
Got to be Trish. She could be a good baby face. She could be an absolute crazy heel. In-ring work was good. But yeah, from a character perspective, yeah, I would choose Trish over Taryn.
Taryn Terrell was great. Her work with Mia Yim, and I think she went by Jade in TNA, if I remember correctly. And Marty Bell with the Dollhouse was great. I loved Taryn Terrell in TNA, but yeah, it's Trish Stratus. And now, to be honest, the reason I picked both of these to go head to head was Taryn Terrell was basically TNA's Trish Stratus, or their attempt at a Trish Stratus like character, and like someone that was overtly, I don't know, like you ask somebody who the hottest knockout in that time, it was Taryn Terrell, and Trish Stratus was every 30-some-year-old man's crush on the screen, and so that's kind of why I put them together. But from an in-ring perspective, Trish Stratus is miles better than Taryn Terrell, and so give me Trish. Trish can still put on a good match. Her last match with Tiffany Stratton wasn't terrible. It wasn't like god awful. It was still pretty decent. All right, let's move on to number 3. We got Trick Willie or Kurt Angle. This is a tough one.
To me, I think it's easy. I'm going Kurt Angle all day. Trick is great. Trick is very good. I think he is a very big reason for the success, I think, between the WWE, NXT, and TNA partnership. I think he's a very good in-ring talent. Character work is pretty good. Mic skills are good. I think he's a future world champion on the main roster. Definitely has the tools to get it done and be in the next it factor in WWE. But man, Kurt, I mean, Kurt is or was an absolute amazing performer from top to bottom. Kurt was a great pro wrestler in an era that didn't really feature great pro wrestlers between the late 90s and mid 2000s. And then, of course, Kurt obviously had his in-ring career went until I think 2013, 2014. But besides a couple matches at WrestleMania 34 and 35. But not only that, Kurt can be such a damn good character and entertainer, man. He could be amazing. From the vignettes with him and Austin and McMahon during the Alliance angle, being a comedic guy, to being an absolute ruthless heel. That, when Kurt showed up, you're like, man, this dude's about to kick some ass. But his character can make you love him or make you hate him. And his in-ring work never slowed down. It was always good. I besides maybe the Barrett Corbin match, but I mean, Kurt was in his late 40s or early 50s by that point. Besides maybe that and maybe a small couple other matches, I can't think of a real bad Kurt Angle match. Dude just was a machine, an absolute machine.
I love Trick Williams. I think he's the future of WWE. But I think I'd have to go with Kurt Angle as well. And I even mentioned on I think it was one of my Saturday solo shows, that Kurt Angle was, like you said, in an era where like he had to work his way to where he got. It wasn't super prevalent that your in-ring style, got you anywhere in the business. I think it's even worse in today's WWE, where WWE is not necessarily looking for super great in-ring technical guys. They're looking for people that they can mold into characters, and they're kind of going back into that old school WWE mindset after several years where they were trying to get every indie talent in the world. I don't know if Kurt Angle would make it in today's business because of he's such a good character, but like I don't know, WWE took a risk signing him in the first place. But there were some similarities between Trick and Kurt Angle. They both tried to play pro football and never made it to a roster. Kurt Angle made the practice squad, if I remember, of the Pittsburgh Steelers, played fullback, I believe. Trick Williams made the training camp roster of the Philadelphia Eagles, but never saw a game in his life. Wonder if he got a Super Bowl ring. I don't know. But yeah, there's some similarities here. I like Kurt Angle. He's one of my favorites growing up, so I'll pick Kurt Angle in this instance. All right, the next one. The Young Bucks or the Motor City Machine Guns. And let me clarify, not the WWE version, the watered-down version of the Motor City Machine Guns, like their TNA days.
Now, this one is actually a really, really tough one.
To set the scene, I think we both can agree that these are two of the top 5 tag teams, probably of all time, or in that consideration.
Close. Yeah, there's definitely an argument to be made for both of them. Man, if I'm going regular wrestling match, I may go with the Motor City Machine Guns. If I'm looking for an all-around character development type deal on top of the wrestling and the way they can adjust their movesets depending on their characters, gotta be the Young Bucks. So I think in this instance, by a small sliver, I may pick the Young Bucks. Their character work is very good. Heel, face. Motor City Machine Guns, they were just like that annoying heel. And they were okay baby faces. Don't get me wrong, but Sabin was more of the face. Shelley was a good heel.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Shelley was not a really good face, and Sabin was an okay heel. Whereas Matt and Nick both could be good in either facet, but their in-ring performance they're both so good. Yeah. I remember back in 2009, there was an X Division tournament that Motor City Machine Guns were actually competing as singles, and they ended up being in the finals. And that match took place at Genesis in Charlotte in 2009. I went to that, and they put on an amazing match for the X Division title. So those two guys can be really great singles guys, especially Sabin, and Shelley can do that as well. As a tag team, they're just as good. They really are. But I think overall, I would have to pick the Bucks.
No, I this is a tough one, and when I made it, I was like, oh man, this is probably one of the harder ones to on this version of this episode here. But I think I got to go to Young Bucks. I've been a Young Bucks fan since 2017, 2018. I introduced myself to them through their stuff on YouTube, like VTE, that they don't do anymore, that they need to bring back. But they're just freaking phenomenal. And I think what I love about them so much is that like all of the like super uber casual fans think that they're the worst thing in the fucking business, and in reality they're probably one of the more, you know, WWE ready tag teams that AEW actually has. Like if they went to the WWE, I think they could honestly fit in really well because they're so good at character work. Yesterday on Dynamite, they had the jobber entrance, and I don't think I've ever laughed harder in my entire life than watching that entire segment play out. It was so freaking good. I just love the Young Bucks. Everyone says that they like try to put themselves over, but every feud it seems like they lose now. They lost the tag belts to Darby and Sting at Sting's retirement match in Greensboro. They lost the EVP titles and pushed Tony Khan to have them lose the EVP titles to Swerve and Osprey at All In. Like they really care about putting over the next generation of wrestlers. Like in the ring, it's probably almost an even tie between the two. But I think overall, like the Young Bucks, like people say they ruin the business, but I think they make the business better. I'm going to pick the Young Bucks in this instance. But slightly over Motor City. Motor City's good. Their WWE stuff is okay, but their TNA stuff. That seems like a common thread these days with WWE. Anyways, I'll move on. All right, here we go. Max Caster, the birthday boy, versus Enzo Amore. I think he goes by Real One these days.
I gotta go Enzo. I do. Real One, whatever you want to call him. Man, it's such a weird time on the main roster for WWE. Him and Cass were tearing it up in NXT, and they were over with the main roster crowd, but just creatively didn't have great things going for him.
Yeah.
But man, yeah, Enzo has just got an amazing gift of gab. Caster does too. But Enzo, man, especially when he went to 205 Live and became the Cruiserweight champion, boy, people hated him, but people tuned in to 205 Live. They actually tuned in for him and got that show over, which is sad to say because there's a bunch of really good wrestling on that show. But it's such a, especially in that time period, it was a much more of a niche audience for the WWE crowd. If you're more of a loyal fan of NXT, that might have been your show to watch too. But Cass is a singles guy, or not Cass, Enzo is a singles guy, especially it's a tag guy, phenomenal. Max is good. This gimmick with him is starting to gain some traction. I just don't really know where it's going to go. And after a while, it's just going to get kind of stale. So hopefully something kind of reinvigorates him a little bit more. But yeah, I got to go with Enzo on this one.
Yeah. So I love Max Caster. Obviously, share a birthday with him. I actually didn't know that until earlier today. That we shared a birthday. But anyways, happy birthday, Max Caster. You're great. I might have to pick Enzo on this one too, because where Max Caster, his promos, like all his mic stuff, like is good and it's funny, but he has to use like a specific style to get, and it's a more like PG-13, almost rated R kind of style to get his comedy over. Enzo could just say random shit that really didn't make sense, and some way it made sense. So I think I will pick Enzo here, just because I think he is better on the mic. Unfortunately, there were just a couple circumstances with him and Cass, like Simon Gotch got a concussion off the ropes on through Enzo through the ropes. Enzo got a concussion there. Took him out of action for a while. Then he had that steam going on 205 Live, and it was actually probably some of the better stuff that WWE was putting out. And then all the sexual assault stuff with him, and they fired him. And then the allegations turned to be false. And then he tried to do rap, and now he's actually wrestling for West Side Guns promotion, I think, fourth wall or whatever it's called, Four Corner. And so he was at Slammiversary with Zilla Vatu, and he actually cut a pretty good, almost reminded me of his old WWE persona. So I like Enzo. I think Max has to go to that raunchy stuff to get his comedy over, and uh, to me, like you should be able to tell some, and don't get me wrong, I like Max Caster, and I think I know where his storyline is going. Eventually, the Acclaimed are going to get back together, and they're going to turn on Billy Gunn. Um, but you got to wait for that to pay off. But I'm gonna pick Enzo in this case. Now, I think if I remember correctly, the next couple of these I don't necessarily think are individual wrestlers, but like stables, if I remember correctly. So here we go. The next one, the NWO or the Bullet Club.
Gotta go with the NWO. They were the originators, really, and the Bullet Club reinvigorated their type of thing. In whenever they started, 15, 16, 17, 14, something like that. Um, but man, they were great for their time frame too, because wrestling was pretty stale at that point, and they were just a really cool group. Obviously, a playoff at the NWO in some way, but the NWO is too good, too sweet, shall we say?
Yeah.
The originators, the badasses, one of the biggest, best super factions of wrestling history, and then single-handedly, changed the landscape of Monday Night Wars and wrestling in the night, '96. So um, they transcended WCW for sure and transcended wrestling really forever. So it's still so merged to this day, both red and black, white and black. So yeah, I would definitely say the NWO.
Yeah, I love the Bullet Club. Obviously, like they are the copycat NWO, and so I think you have to by default pick the original over the copycat. The NWO was so big that um, they tried to branch it out, and so there was like the LWO, which is still a thing to today that they brought back. Um, the Blue Meanie tried to do the BWO, and so it's just that they did so well for so long, and it's still such a important faction in the aura of WCW and WWE. Bullet Club is great, but it's just again it's the copycat. It's basically NWO 2.0. And it's great, and they have their split factions. They have like Bullet Club War Dogs, Bullet Club. I guess you can call the Bang Bang Gang part of the Bullet Club. Was Jay White ever kicked out of the Bullet Club? I can't remember. Like,
I have no idea.
I know before Chris Bay's injury, him and not Austin Aries, Ace Austin were part of, like, they were the TNA version part of Bullet Club. So, um, they're doing great stuff, and they're so great. But the NWO is the originator, so you got to pick the original over the copycat. And there's one more, and this one should be fun. WWE or WCW? Which side did you pick?
I mean, that's. I'm a mark for WCW, man, and WWE, obviously was the winner of the Monday Night Wars, but I can go back and watch a bunch of stuff from both eras for sure. But I grew up watching WCW, and like I said, I grew up. My first few that I really remember was Sting Hogan '96, '97. That's what drew me to being a Sting fan, and um, I loved everything about WCW from '96 to '99, and um, always will have a soft spot in my heart with WCWB. So gotta say WCW.
Yeah, I kind of grew up the opposite. I thought all pro wrestling, and really at the time that I grew up, really starting to watch wrestling in like the early 2000s, it really was mostly just WWE at that time. Um, so I don't have super fond memories of WCW, but I have gone back to watch a lot of the stuff. Um, I think I have to pick WWE on this one because I just have more fond memories of what WWE was. My favorite match of all time was the WrestleMania 10 IC ladder match between Razor and Shawn Michaels. That's a WWE thing. WCW was really great, and they really pushed WWE again to make wrestling better. And in a way, I have to give a piece of myself to WCW because, in a way, like AEW is kind of an offspring of WCW. Like, it was like if ECW and WCW had a kid named Tony Khan, it would be AEW. And so I love WCW. I think their contribution to the game was great, but just overall, just based off of the memories that I have, I would have to pick WWE. And that's this or that. So here's my ask for the fans. Help me out. Don't make me do all the work on this. Give me some this or that that you want me to do in future episodes. Make them fun, make them entertaining. Don't make them too easy. Make them kind of hard. Let us know, and then in future episodes, we'll introduce more of them into the segment. My friend, before we get to the mid card meltdown, which it doesn't feel like it's mid card, it feels like we're at the end of the show here, but it's mid card meltdown. Tell everyone a little bit about StubHub.
Well, have you know that I bought my Creed tickets back in November, December, January, whatever it was, through StubHub. It just had the best deal at the time of when I got those tickets, and so I'm glad I definitely got them when I did, because the show was sold out. So I'm glad I got them. But if you're looking to score tickets to the hottest events in town, StubHub has got you covered. Whether it's a concert like I went to last week, a sports game that we have been to plenty of, must-see Broadway show, live entertainment, wrestling, all of the above. StubHub is your one-stop shop for live entertainment and live event tickets. With millions of listings, you can easily find the best seats at the best prices. Plus, with StubHub's 100% buyer guarantee, you can shop with confidence knowing your tickets are legit and are ready for you to enjoy the experience. So, folks, why wait? Don't miss out on the action. If I ain't gotten those tickets when I did, I'd be missing out on that Creed concert and would have been very upset. But visit StubHub today to get your tickets to unforgettable moments. You guys can use the link in the description for all your sporting and live event and entertainment needs. StubHub, the world's largest ticket marketplace. We thank StubHub for sponsoring the podcast.
Absolutely. I think one of my favorite parts about StubHub is I think you can set notifications for like if tickets are selling quick on something that you're looking at, or if they're maybe too expensive at some point. If prices drop, they'll give you some notification on that. So definitely use that link and look around. There's stuff going on. It's the end of summer, so they're pushing out concerts and stuff all over the place. So definitely use StubHub, use that link, help support the podcast. So we're jumping into the mid card meltdown here, and like I don't know about you, but I got something I really want to complain about. But I'm gonna let you have the floor first, my friend. Anything that just grinded your gears over the last couple weeks?
Really, the biggest thing that I can. There's one that happened today, but maybe that's part of yours, so I want to see your reaction to it. But, it really was a tale of two stories that I just really got frustrated with on social media. And I know that social media always hits real world stuff. And people are bitches and stuff like that. But the outpouring of love and support that Ozzy got when he died, rightfully so. Legend, Godfather of heavy metal, 100% agrees with that. Prince of Darkness, love Ozzy, love his music. Same thing, reality TV show, really made you feel like you knew him and stuff like that. So I loved Ozzy. Sad that he passed away, but got so much love and support on social media. Whereas Hulk Hogan, cultural pop figure, pop icon, legend, but just got the absolute opposite shit on. I don't know Ozzy's politics if he had any. I don't know, and I don't care. But the fact that Hulk Hogan, because he made a racist comment in basically on a public sphere for the world to see and hear, and Donald is and was a Donald Trump supporter, is the reason why people hate him. And I just think that's the absolute shittiest way to do that. If you have to make politics your end all be all for your friends, for respecting people, you're a sad person that lives a very sad life, in my opinion. And like I said, you may have not had to like the guy, but out of respect for his family and friends, that's hard. Yeah. That's insane to deal with. Jimmy Carter is a Democrat. He's president, legendary figure. Sad that he passed away. Glad he lived a very long life, but sad he passed away. Feel for his family and friends that dealt with the loss of a loved one. And when people die, sometimes the politics shouldn't matter. It's about the fact that you lost a cultural pop figure icon.
Yep.
And again, I just go back to not everybody's perfect, and unfortunately, because he made a mistake in a public sphere, he's going to get ridiculed, got ridiculed, and still is getting ridiculed. Online, social media, in media, and it's not fair and it's stupid and ridiculous. Ozzy killed 17 cats because of a drug rage. I didn't really see people go too crazy about that on social media. A few people made a mention of that, but then it was mostly overshadowed because of the love and outpouring and support that people have for Ozzy. So Hogan made a mistake. Ozzy made a mistake. Is killing 17 cats the same as saying a racist comment and being a Republican? I think sinning is sinning. Everything, one thing you do bad, I think people do bad things. It's our duty to give those people second chances. We would want second chances too. And, it sucks, and that's just how life goes. And I just hate the fact that people just play two sides of the coin, and it's not fair. But that's social media for you. And that's really what I got to say about that. I try to listen more so of the wrestling people that were in the business and around the business and knew of Hulk Hogan. And that's really and that's all I really need to know and hear is how they react to it. Bischoff was really torn up about it. Tony Schiavone, while he was not a close friend of Hulk Hogan, was a friend and gave a really good tribute. Plenty of people in the business came about and came around from all races, creeds, religions, and gave their love and support to him. And that's all that matters. You don't have to not everybody needed to give a long, drawn out social media post. A simple couple sentences here and there just to show your respects. And that's it. It's not that hard.
Yep.
But people are bitches. Just like Cody Rhodes. He's a bitch too. But that's all I got to say.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, I remember just the other day, Stevie Ray, Booker T's brother. Is it Stevie Ray, right?
Yep.
Yeah. He had his post about Hulk Hogan and talked nothing but positive things about him. And so, I mean, Jimmy Hart had this heartbreaking story to tell a couple days ago as well. So those are the people that were the closest to him. Ric Flair broke down on an interview on where was it, ESPN or one of the networks.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I get it. Like, and I don't want to sit here and tell people they shouldn't have a certain emotional reaction to what Hulk Hogan said. Obviously, we're not condoning what he said. Obviously, it was a mistake. But like you said, I think we need to show a little bit of grace and allow him the opportunity to correct his mistake. I think he made every opportunity to correct those mistakes, and there was nothing but positive stuff from people in the business. But yeah, good stuff. Let's move on to my stuff, because I don't know if how active you are in the Discord. By the way, we updated the website, and the Discord's easier to get to. I'll probably make mention of that towards the end of the show, but I don't know how active you are in the Discord. But I think
I was very active last week for about a day, and then back to the turtle hides in the shell and forgets about everything for a while.
So yeah. Anyways, last night it was pretty active, and it all spaced around something that happened in AEW last night. The Christian Cage segment, where a fan in the crowd posted a video of the other side of the arena during the concerto that shows that they actually didn't hit Christian Cage, which, note to self, they never hit the wrestlers during those moves. And so that brought up, I mentioned in the chat that that's how the move's always done, and then it got a little, a little bit of a heated argument came in, and this is my meltdown for a moment. There are reasons that AEW fans say that the goalposts always are moved when AEW is successful. All In was the greatest event they've ever had on North American soil. The greatest event in terms of pay-per-view buys. They did really well. I don't think they hit as high as Meltzer said they were projected to, but they did really well from what I saw in pay-per-view buys. The attendance, almost 30,000. Really good numbers. Really good numbers for All In. And then immediately the goalposts were moved because they did a residency in Chicago that held 1,100 fans for 6 shows. Because it just made sense to keep your production, and they didn't have to tear the arena down 6 nights in a row. I mean, it made sense. It made perfect sense. Tonight, or live during the show, they were doing their final residency show for Collision, and then they go back on the road again, but people were bitching about that. And then that piece went down, and now they're bitching about the fact that apparently AEW is not protecting the business because they didn't because Christian Cage took a concerto the way it was supposed to be taken and actually didn't get hurt, but sold it really well. And so my question is, should they have actually hit Christian Cage? Should they have protected the business to make it seem real that Christian Cage got hurt and risk an injury to Christian Cage? Well, if they would have done that, remember when Shawn Spears mollywopped Cody Rhodes with a ungimmicked chair at the very first couple episodes of AEW Dynamite, and AEW, they don't take care of their wrestlers. Or remember when Nick Gage came out with that pizza cutter and they, told him to stop doing it. And that was in Charlotte, by the way. We were there.
That was a wild show.
And remember when apparently they just don't care about wrestler safety, and yet all of a sudden they do the move correctly, but a fan that was in the arena sitting on the other side, took a video from the opposite side, kind of ruining the illusion. And they're not telling the story from the fan's perspective. They're telling the story from what they show on screen. And on screen, it looked pretty real. For the same thing back in 2023, Braun Breaker and Von Wagner. Braun Breaker, if you listen just to the commentary, it sounded like he murdered a man with smashing his skull into some steel steps. Video came out, and he never even touched the guy. But the story's being told through the lens of what is on screen on the TV. But obviously, with the rise of modern social media, we're going to get an inside look at the illusion. The illusion's no longer there. Everybody knows that there are certain things that are gimmicked, that aren't real. This isn't the 80s anymore. And so there's either one of two solutions to this. Number one is you ban all use of cameras and video devices and pull the Edge and Christian book and say no more flash photography. Or you have Christian Cage get his skull crushed in by 2 steel chairs and take the backlash there, or you do it the way that you did it. The way they did it was the way it was supposed to be done. But again, there's so much nitpicking because you can't nitpick that AEW is going to not get a TV deal because they got a TV deal. You can't nitpick that they aren't going to sell out All In because they sold more tickets than were expected at All In, and All Out is already outsold last year's numbers, with still 40 or plus days to go. The AEW's on track to have the first profitable year in company history. So you can't talk about them in that negative light. And so now you have the social media outrage over the smallest of things. And I have this just concern because if I really wanted to, if I wanted to nauseate myself, I would watch a 2.5 or 3 hour episode of Monday Night Raw. I have Netflix. I can do it. And I could take a piece of paper and a pen and I can write down everything that I thought was terrible about the show. I promise you, it would probably be about 5 pages long because the show is so nauseatingly boring and it's just not my style. But you know what? I don't do that because for some people, Monday Night Raw fits their style perfectly and they're allowed to watch what they watch. But I don't see how you have enough time in your day unless you are a paid media member. If you're someone like Sean Ross Sapp or Dave Meltzer or Brian Alvarez who get paid, like wrestling is your business. You shouldn't just spend all the time in the world watching stuff that you hate. And yet these people move the post and they still watch the show and they hate on it because it gets some clicks on social media or it allows them to tell some cringy post. The news that we talk about with WWE isn't stuff that necessarily happens in ring because I know you don't typically watch Monday Night Raw or SmackDown that much anymore. And I don't, and I watch it from a distance. I don't pay a whole lot of attention. My problem is that the goalposts seem to always be moved when there's nothing super obvious to complain about with AEW. When they're doing good business, you have to find something to scratch that itch that upsets you. And it's like, why do you care? If you don't like the show, why bitch and moan about it? Why complain about it? You obviously don't love it. And it's not my job as an AEW fan to convince you why you should love it. At this point, I just don't care. Like, if you want to watch it, you can watch it. If you don't, I don't really care. I'm cool with the people that watch it and love it, and I have my conversations with them. But if you don't want to like AEW, it doesn't bother me that you hate the show. And it shouldn't bother you that I'm not a big fan of WWE's current product. It shouldn't bother you that I think that Blake Monroe is so terrible, so stale compared to what she was in AEW. It shouldn't bother you because that's just my opinion on an entertainment source. And if it bothers you so much that you get upset about it, like that's a you problem, not a me problem. I go to sleep just fine knowing that you can watch whatever the hell you want to watch. And then we'll move into the next stuff. But any last minute thoughts before you transition?
I mean, I think that no matter what seat you sit in, it's going to be hard to have that perfect angle,
right,
to show that if it was real or not. Now, with it being a little bit smaller of a venue, it probably got exposed a little bit more than maybe a 20,000 seat venue where it might be a little bit harder to detect that. But I mean, it's all about the safety, and I didn't notice it on television. I thought they did a pretty good job with shooting it to make it look like it was very real. But I mean, I suggest people to go back and watch an episode of Raw from 1998, I believe, or 99. I think it was 98, where Vince was utilizing Kane and Undertaker to beat Austin and take the title before their match at Breakdown, and Vince had his ankle broken on a Raw. He got his foot put on a section of the steel steps. Taker took off one section of it and then smashed that steel step on top of the foot.
Right.
You can look at that once on TV and see, yeah, he didn't hit him. He did this, rolled over of the foot, and hit the other side of the steel step.
Right.
You can clearly see, and it doesn't take 15 looks of it to be like, oh yeah, no, that was pretty bad. It was one take, and it was not shot well. If they shot it from a different angle, it would have probably looked a little bit better. Right. But it's just one of those things that obviously you're not really going to hit the person. You're not going to actually kill them. You're not actually going to smash their ankle. You're creating that illusion to make it look as real as possible. Yeah, I mean, it was more like the Braun and Wagner, I believe, than the Jericho one. But
it was.
I mean, it's just.
So I want to catch up. Wavy D is asking a couple questions here. So this one here, he hasn't seen the spot yet. So the same kind of situation when Jericho was pushed off the cage and you could see the foam landing. No, it's absolutely not. That was terrible. That was a terrible spot. I don't know why they did that. This was a concerto, and typically, obviously, the concerto is done where one of the chairs is on the ground and then you have the guy laying down on the chair and then you hit him. Well, this one was Christian was standing up and you had Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian swinging two chairs into Christian Cage's face. And you're obviously not going to hit him. And there's actually a bigger risk doing it the way that they did it because there is a chance that you miss and actually hit the guy. And so I think the issue there would be you have to question why they did the spot the way they did more so than the fact that they did the spot at all.
Sure, but I think the reason why they did it on top of the stage was to make it look better, to not create that exposure if they did it in the middle of the ring where most, if not all, the crowd would be able to tell pretty quickly they didn't hit him. Versus one small section of the audience that just happened to have it on their camera phone or whatever and saw that obviously they didn't hit him. So they tried to limit the exposure by doing it on top of the stage. Smart idea. But
and like you said, I didn't immediately notice anything nefarious about the way that they shot it on TV. No. And I think that's my biggest point is and they got in the argument. The argument that was in the Discord was, well, shouldn't it look good for the people that pay money in the crowd? And yes, you want to have it look good, but there's always going to be seats. There's always going to be places where that illusion is exposed because it's not meant to be filmed from a 360-degree angle all the time. It's all they're trying to shoot it as if it's a movie and it's that's live action, and so you don't have the luxury of being able to do a scene and then being able to edit and crop out things, and there's not a live audience, and so there's always going to be someone from the backside that's able to see the illusion. But my biggest point is like they want to protect the business from apparently, but yet, and we'll get into this here in just a moment. But they have a fucking documentary now explaining how the business works. And they've had documentaries all over the place now. Maven has a YouTube channel that exposes how to gig yourself and how to get color, and how what he did and to avoid certain injuries in certain spots. And so the business has been far past exposed. People know what's going on. People know it's an illusion, and we shouldn't sit there like I watched Fantastic Four last week. I didn't sit there asking myself, did he actually hit this person? Did he actually hit that person? No, I'm sitting there watching what's on the screen. And if it looks real, then that's all I care. Now, obviously, if they shot it and they, exposed themselves, if it was shot from a bad angle and it showed that they didn't hit him on TV, then we got to question the production of the move. Not necessarily the move itself, but the production. And so, but it was fine on TV, and that should be all that matters. And yes, in the ring, the fans pay to watch, wrestling, but there's always that risk that you get a move shown from another angle. There's always a risk you sit front row that you hear John Cena screaming cadences. I mean, so that just happens in the ring. When you're calling something live action, there's always a chance that you're going to get in, that you're going to find some form of thing that busts the illusion. We all know that move is done the way that it's done for a reason. And maybe instead of complaining about it being done safely, we should be happy that they did the move safely and that Christian Cage didn't, actually get hit with two chairs that would probably put him out of action for several months. Especially since AEW apparently has an issue with concussions. Adam Cole, Hook, to name a few recently. The fact that they did the move safely should be, something you celebrate because, I don't know. Let's move on. To the WWE section of the show, we got a couple pieces to talk about. The first one happened. I have to add this piece in. Super last minute, because I don't know if you realize, but Triple H was at the White House today. And he is in charge now, I guess, of creating standards for the presidential fitness test, which ended in 2013, and they're bringing it back. Thank God I'm out of high school because I would have failed every single part of that test. But the White House put out a video just like an hour or two ago, and it makes me laugh watching it. So I thought I would share it to everybody. I don't know if anybody's seen this. They titled it, "It's Time to Play the Game to Get Kids Fit Again," or something like that. And this is what they had to post.
Time to play the game. Time to play the game. Time to play the game.
What timeline are we in? What the fuck? Triple H is, in an ad campaign for the president, who is a WWE Hall of Famer, with Motorhead playing on their social. What timeline are we in? I thought that was hilarious. It's time to play the game, folks. And Triple H is. It wouldn't shock me if he ran for some sort of political office here soon, as much as he's connected to Donald Trump. But anyways, let's talk about some WWE news. Hey, did you know this weekend was SummerSlam? Because, shit, I almost forgot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't pay enough attention to the Fed to note that for sure it was this weekend. I knew that it was coming up, but yeah, there's not been much hype around. To my opinion, there's not been much hype around SummerSlam this weekend.
So yeah, the biggest buzz that I'm aware of is Cena fights Cody, and then Gunther versus Punk. But the biggest match that I've seen a lot of buzz around is Logan Paul, Drew McIntyre versus Jelly Roll and Randy Orton, which Drew McIntyre might not be able to make it to New Jersey. He is legit. He lost his passport in England. He is stuck in England right now, from what I understand. The Miz said that he would help partner with Logan Paul if need be. I don't know if that match is going to actually happen. I haven't heard anything if Drew McIntyre is actually still stuck in England or not. But last I heard, that's the case. But there hasn't been a whole lot of buzz, and it's kind of sad. One, it's a 2-night SummerSlam event, so there's Saturday night and Sunday night. I hate that they've made this a 2-night event, but it's WWE for you. But like SummerSlam used to be one of those shows that, like, even if you weren't a wrestling fan, you knew about SummerSlam. Like, you knew about, like, the weekend of SummerSlam was a big week, and a lot of casual fans tuned in. And I would consider myself really casual with WWE's product right now. I don't pay a whole lot of attention on a weekly basis. And like you said, I haven't heard a whole lot about it. And maybe that's a good thing, because we heard a whole lot of shit WrestleMania weekend, a whole lot of negative press for WWE. So the fact that it's kind of a quiet weekend for one of their big shows might be a good thing. And so, yeah, it's just kind of shocking. Like, where there's been really little buzz from my perspective about SummerSlam. And like, again, going back to my meltdown piece, I think that's also a reason why they have to nitpick on little AEW things, is because there's not a whole lot to praise about SummerSlam, about WWE's product, because it's not been great. I believe the numbers for Raw on Monday over Raw from not this Monday, but last Monday, over the first 7 days, are consistent. 2.7 million worldwide viewership. Like, I don't know if that's a good enough number for Netflix, for what Raw wanted. WrestleMania's numbers came out for Netflix, and obviously WrestleMania is seen on Netflix just from an international perspective, so we don't know the Peacock numbers, but not really good numbers from the international crowd for WrestleMania weekend. And it just seems like people are not buying into this super hyper commercialized pay-per-view premium live event thing that they do now with WWE. I don't feel a whole lot of buzz going around them. I did see on another podcast, though, that Jey Uso came out on Monday, and typically they have him yeeting in the ring for like 45 minutes, and he comes down through the crowd, and he didn't do that apparently this week. I guess he had a normal entrance. So I guess maybe WWE's experiment of the singles run for Jey Uso is done. I guess the question there is he no longer seen as that main event guy? Was he just used as that interim from WrestleMania to Saturday night's main event to get to Goldberg? And then now he's just kind of wandering, trying to find his place again? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like his stock went from the extreme high, obviously, from WrestleMania down to practically nothing. It's kind of crazy how quickly that fell from WrestleMania to just Saturday night's main event, and then from there to now SummerSlam. I would like to know and have a good case study as to what the hell happened with the hype and the aura, I guess you could say, around Jey Uso. And if the case was to get the title back on Gunther just to get to Goldberg, I think that's absolutely stupid and ridiculous. They could have, and I understand it was a great moment. If you're just going to take it off the guy 2 months later, why not just wait until SummerSlam to give him a good lengthy title reign?
Right.
Whether it's WrestleMania in front of 60,000 or SummerSlam in front of 50,000. I mean, it's still a big show, stadium show, one of your biggest premier live events of the year. Why not wait? But yeah, it's kind of crazy how quickly he has fallen from main event status, literally, to just another, just a filler act, mid card level. But the hype was insane, and it's not there anymore.
Yeah, it's wild. And then the last piece of WWE news that I want to talk about: Netflix released a documentary series. The first episode, I believe, was this week, called WWE Unreal, and they're trying to, I guess, give you an expose of the behind the scenes workings of how to produce a WWE show. It kind of gives me the same feeling of like what the hell is it called? That the NFL does. The Buffalo Bills have it this year. No.
Hard Knocks.
Yeah, Hard Knocks. It's to me, it feels a lot like Hard Knocks, and I kind of have the same reception to it. I don't necessarily love this. I don't think it's good for business for WWE to expose so much of what goes on behind the scenes. And I know, there's this notion that the fans really love the behind the scenes stuff. But when you're exposing so much, just like with Hard Knocks, there's a lot of teams that don't want to be part of Hard Knocks, because if Hard Knocks shows a secret play or something on their show, there are people watching and are studying, and it's used as like game tape. It's additional footage that can be used to take the company down or take your team down. And so I kind of get the same feeling. To me, this is not a good thing for WWE to expose so much of the business. One, to me, this just feels kind of like a glorified puff piece for Levesque. Because to make Levesque look better than he actually is, because his booking hasn't been really good here recently. And so if you can present it in a way to make him look like he's competent at his job, maybe people will forget the fact that his booking hasn't been super great. It also proved to me one thing. I've seen a few clips. I haven't watched a whole lot. So CM Punk is a scam and a fraud and just another glorified corporate sellout, and his on-screen persona is all fake, and that got exposed, I think, in this opening episode. We had this conversation during WrestleMania season that when Charlotte and Tiffany had that big unscripted part of their lead up to WrestleMania about Charlotte's divorce, they made Tiffany apologize to Charlotte. And I was like, okay, I guess that makes sense. But then I had a second glance of like, if it was anybody other than Charlotte, would Tiffany Stratton had to apologize, or was it just because it was Charlotte? And I feel like if it was Naomi or Liv Morgan, not Charlotte, that Tiffany went off script for, they would have just been like, it's part of business, we'll run with it. But because it's Charlotte Flair and her daddy's Rick, I feel like, anyways, I don't really like exposing the backstage politics of pro wrestling. Your thoughts on the whole idea of this, the whole premise of the show? I think you might be muted.
I was muted. I don't know why. I mean, I think it is what it is. I mean, the business has been exposed since really the early mid-'90s, when it's called a sports entertainment instead of pro wrestling. And again, in '97, when you had that whole promo of good guys versus bad guys, and your whole intelligence being insulted, and cut that whole promo saying we're going to change the way we do things. And it's like, okay, well, you just expose the business there, expose the business during the Montreal Screwjob. Yeah, I mean, wrestling has been exposed for a while now. There's not much more of anything that's sacred in business anymore. Once it went from good guys and bad guys can't be seen together in public to now they share planes and they share car rides and people see them all the time and they look all buddy. That's exposed to the business. Kayfabe's been dead for a while. I don't love the look in the creative room, just because like that's a sacred place. Like let that stuff just be behind the scenes. We don't need to know every little bit in detail.
Right.
But I enjoy behind the scenes things. I enjoy the documentaries they put out. I enjoy same thing with like Quarterback or Hard Knocks. I enjoy that stuff. I enjoy seeing the behind the scenes stuff that doesn't have to do with the creative side of things in the creative room. I'm cool with seeing stuff in the gorilla position, following the guys to signings at the gym or behind the scenes in their locker room. Stuff like that is cool, but I don't need to see a creative meeting, a big board that's got planned matches and then we change it, or planned winners and then we change it. Like, I don't need that. But I guess for those type of bands, I'm sure they enjoy it. I haven't watched it. I probably won't. But I mean, it's just another channel of content, and there's not much more left in the wrestling business to expose. And I guess they made sure to expose every little bit of it, what was left. So that's pretty much all I got.
All right, we are going to try and hyperdrive through this AEW stuff. A lot of stuff has taken place here. MJF, I don't know what's going on with him in the Hurt Syndicate. It seems like maybe he's being thrown out. I know we had a discussion in one of our group chats that we're kind of confused about that whole storyline. I guess we'll see where it plays out. I have an inkling of maybe an idea of where it's going, but I'm not 100% certain where it goes. But what's your overall perception of MJF and the Hurt Syndicate story?
I think it's a ploy. I think it's a ploy to get Hangman to not think about MJF, to make us fans not totally remember the fact that he has a contract, and it's going to cause like a rift between them. The whole cause us to lose this and that, and then magically, whenever MJF does cash in, I think they're going to help to say that it was all a ruse all along. We were tight to being, all the way through. We were trying to make it seem like it wasn't the case, so you would forget about us, so your guard would get would be lowered. That's how I feel it's going to happen, where it's going to go. But definitely has some confusing tactics to it. But they give us just enough of the onion to peel back, to question it, but leaves us enough on the entire onion itself to want to peel back more of it and see what's going to happen in the days and weeks to come. So should be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I kind of like that they're drawing it out a little bit, especially they're running this tag team tournament to see who the number one contender is at Forbidden Door, and so that'll be good. I think we'll get more depth to story as we get closer to All Out. I'm kind of shocked we haven't gotten a whole lot more Forbidden Door matches. Storylines
Big
going.
one got announced tonight.
Oh, fantastic. I'll have to watch that.
AEW Unified title, unless you want me to tell you now.
Okay, go ahead. Shoot it.
For the AEW Unified Championship, Kazuchika Okada versus Swerve Strickland.
Oh. Okay, that makes sense because they've been beefing a little bit. So
that'll be fun.
Yeah, I've been shocked because I was under the understanding that Forbidden Door was Tanahashi's last match in England, but they haven't mentioned anything about it, so I don't know what's going on with that. I would have been so certain by now Naito would have been announced because he's been doing a lot of England Rev Pro stuff, and I'm just kind of shocked at the lack of story going to Forbidden Door. Maybe they're going to take a swerve, no pun intended there, once they get out of Chicago to amp up to that. obviously, this usually dream matches anyway. There's not a whole lot of story behind them, so Tony Khan probably is just going to throw 14 matches at us at one time on Twitter. But speaking of Tony Khan, he had he announced a few things on an interview a couple days ago in Chicago. The first one was World's End is going to be in Chicago this year, December 27th. They haven't announced the arena for Full Gear, and so I think we have to push to get a Charlotte Full Gear this year. Like, I really think we got to push for that. I'm sure he already has an arena booked out. And so I don't know what will it take to get North Carolina another pay-per-view. Ric Flair, can you come back and give us one last match so we can get?
Somebody's gonna have to have a retirement match, I guess. I mean, that's the only way we can get it. Listen, I'd be in favor of just a Wednesday night Dynamite at this point because we haven't had a Dynamite since 2021. We've had collisions 2 years in a row. Yep. Can we get off a Saturday night? Even though I do appreciate the fact that it's a Saturday night, I'd like a Wednesday night Dynamite again. Yeah, I don't know what it's going to take, but gosh, I would just like to see an AEW pay-per-view in Charlotte. Please.
And don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I love the Chicago scene, and obviously Tony Khan does too. And I think obviously he's from Champaign, Illinois, went to college there at Illinois University, so that's kind of home to him. It's legit. Like, I think he legit has a home there, and so I get why he loves that Chicago area. I think there's so damn much, and I thought we were out of the clear when they announced Toronto was hosting All Out. That we wouldn't get a Chicago pay-per-view this year, and nope, we're getting a Chicago pay-per-view to end the year. The second thing that was notable that he said was he was open if it made sense to Warner Brothers and the network to bringing back Dark or Dark Elevation, which I think is a good thing for AEW because it really would allow for some of their underutilized talent to be used because there's just so many people on the roster, not enough time on Wednesday and Saturdays to really build storylines. I think this could be a really good way to develop younger talent or get more storylines told. I think it would be a good idea. I loved watching Dark. Like, I watched Dark religiously when it was on TV or when it was on YouTube. So your thoughts about that idea?
Yeah, as long as it was on a free, I would say free platform like YouTube, or they did it just solely on Max or True TV or something like that. Because if you utilize your talent on like ROH, it's still behind a paywall, and people just aren't doing it. Right. As far as I know, they're not. And well, it may be a good product, and they do great pay-per-views. That's all fine and dandy, but they're just not going to pay the $9 a month just to watch ROH. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
And I don't know if they just couldn't get a TV deal for ROH. I don't know why they don't stream it on YouTube, but I'd be for coming back on Max or True TV or something like that.
Yeah, so my understanding with the ROH TV side was, I don't know if you remember this, but when they announced the Max deal, they said that they were going to show replays on True TV on Friday nights, I think they said. The idea was the rumor was that was originally supposed to be the spot for ROH. And somewhere down the line, it fell through the cracks and they couldn't get it completed. So I don't know if ROH is going to ever get a TV deal. I hope they do, because they really do have some really good matches. Spoiler alert, I know somebody that went to the show tonight. They got some good matches apparently that was for ROH that are going to be on TV here soon. So if you do have watch ROH, pay attention and you can watch some good matches. Speaking of Chicago, speaking of the residency there, tonight wrapped up the Chicago residency. This is the first of, I think, 2 confirmed residencies. The next one will be in Philadelphia at ECW Arena, 2300 Arena, I think is what they call it now. And overall, what was your thought of Aragon Ballroom? I thought it looked great for most of the shows. The crowd seemed really hype and into it, and it just seemed super intimate. I loved this residency idea. It worked really well for Collision at the esports arena in Texas last year, and I think it's just a good idea to help with production costs. Obviously, you don't have to tear down the ring and build it, and tear it down and build it. You can kind of leave stuff up, and kind of just stay, your production team can stay localized to a certain arena for a couple of weeks. Your overall thoughts on the Aragon Ballroom and the Chicago residency?
It was a cool setting for sure. Kind of had like an old looking feel to it, almost like a Roman architecture type deal. But it was cool looking. I thought they did a great job with it. It looked great on TV, I thought. I can't wait to see what it's going to look like at the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia. That's going to be a really cool scene, really cool venue, really cool atmosphere for the fans and for AEW on TV. But I'm not against it. I mean, it's a good deal to do it. It creates full crowds, good crowds for 3 straight weeks. And from a monetary aspect of it, why not? It makes all the sense in the world. So I'm not against it. I think it's a good thing to do. NXT did it. I think it'd be great for them. Raw and SmackDown are too big. They're not going to do stuff like that. But I think it's a great thing to do. Utilizing the venue. I like the back-to-back nights or the Wednesday, Saturday. The 3 weeks can be a little much, depending on how it can be. But hey, if you get a good deal on it, why not?
Absolutely. I hope to see some ECW legends when they do the. I'm sure we'll get like an RVD type character that I don't think is under WWE contract. To go out there and do some stuff there. But we're going to end the show, and I think we might try and do this every week now. It's just a question of the week. Hangman defeated Mox last night to kind of end their feud. And so I'm going to ask this question. Which Hangman feud is a better feud from top to bottom? Mox versus Hangman or Swerve versus Hangman?
Swerve versus Hangman, because it really brought out this new character of Hangman that really got over with the crowd.
Yeah.
This anxious millennial cowboy that was just kind of like off the hinge a little bit and would do anything and everything to hurt somebody, and everything felt personal and everything felt believable and real, in my opinion. That's where it really kind of kick-started, and Swerve and him have such great chemistry that it just brought out an intense side of it from Swerve's perspective and Hangman's perspective. Great matches, bloody matches, just top to bottom. Their feud was awesome. Every match was great. Both guys elevated themselves, their characters, and their development so well.
Right.
Propelled Swerve to be the world champion, and then it propelled Hangman to be the main character in the main event spot for now All In 2 weeks ago. So they both came out of it amazingly and elevated both their characters tremendously. If it wasn't for Swerve and Hangman, I don't think that Hangman and Mox would have been as good as it was. But
no,
I would definitely say Swerve and Hangman for sure.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you there. It was because of Swerve and Hangman's feud that Mox and we were able to buy into Mox versus Hangman, and especially the twist where Swerve ended up helping Hangman win. It was all interwoven so perfectly together. I think Mox and Hangman have put on some really good matches. I think they've had 6 matches now in AEW, and they've been really good. I don't think they know how to have a bad match together. They're really good together in the ring, but Swerve and Hangman, just from an emotional appeal, like you just felt something that I at least I did. I felt something that I really hadn't felt in a while in pro wrestling with that Swerve and Hangman feud. And I always have it in the back of my mind that feud isn't over. They're going to be lifelong like rivals that can just kind of now just handle each other. They're not like friends, they're not like bitter enemies right now. They're just kind of there and trying to do what's best for AEW. But at any moment in time, I think there's some drama that can be exposed and that feud can restart at any time. So I think it's just a really good feud and they put it together really well. Yeah, let me know, guys, what you think about that question of the week: Hangman versus Mox or Hangman versus Swerve. What was the better feud? Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. Thank you for all of our partners who help us and use those links. One last thing I wanted to show everyone before we get off the air is the brand new Junkyard Media Group website. I updated it earlier this week, and so this is what it now looks like. It's pulling itself up. It takes some time, I guess. Here we go. We are Junkyard. We've updated some things, and coming soon, and meaning by soon I mean as possible as soon as next week. You see the RWC rankings. We're going to do some power rankings based off the Discord community. And to join the Discord community, all you have to do now is hit join the Real Wrestling Community. It will link you to the invite to the Discord, and it's as easy as that. Join our Discord, scroll the site, listen to all the podcasts there, check it out. Let me know what you guys think about the show. If you're listening to this on audio, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. We haven't heard it in a few weeks. I kind of went over the time that we had planned for the show, but it's all good. We had a lot to talk about, to catch up with. Yeah, let's jump in here and have him say the final words.
First of all, let's just go here. That's it right there. If it'll work. It's not working. Is it working? I don't see it on our screen. Where's it at? I don't see it. Maybe not. 1 second. I'm not sure. Can you see this at all?
The Yahoo article?
No, that's not what I wanted you to see. Hold on. Maybe now? Maybe. Possible. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Okay. There we go. All right. Now go ahead. Yeah. What the hell?
Oh, there it is.
Hey, there it is. Hey, happy birthday, Jamie, Junkyard James. That's a good way to end the show right there. I hope today and maybe over the weekend you'll be able to do it. But if you haven't, definitely get turned up. Mix you maybe some buffalo wings, some buffalo sauce with some blue cheese. It's disgusting, but whatever. Eat some pizza, eat some chicken Alfredo, eat some pasta with some different kinds of sauces you got. But in general, I hope you have a great birthday as well as your brother, Rockstar Randy. And I hope that everybody today, forevermore, this weekend, do it especially for Ozzy, do it especially for the Hulkster. Lift one up, give them a good cheers, and eat up your favorite sauce. But more importantly, y'all, stay saucy, friends.
We'll see y'all on Saturday with the solo show.
Beyond